American 11, are you trying to call?
The cockpit is not answering their phone. Our number 1 has been staffed, and our 5 has been staffed.
I am going to call from Washington. I am in a situation with American 11, a possible hijack.
What's going on, Betty? The crap is erratic again. Problems very erratic. Betty, talk to me. Betty, are you there? Betty? Betty?
A plane just
What?
the 737.
What?
The World Trade
Who are you
Center.
talking to?
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
United 175, New York. We have some problems over here right now. We might have a hijack over here, 2 of them.
Jules, this is Ryan. Lives on an airplane that's been hijacked. If things will go well, I'm looking good. I just want you to know I absolutely love you. I want you to do good. So happy this time. Same to my parents and everybody. And I just totally love you. And I'll see you later. Bye, babe.
What are those people going to do? All the elevators are blocked out.
Oh my God. So both towers are now.
Okay, now, I got an aircraft 6 miles east of the White House.
Crystal City, just north of Crystal City.
Just to the north of your town.
Yeah, stop all departures.
Pentagon just got hit. No for CNN. God damn, I can't even protect my NCA.
United 93, that traffic for you is 1 o'clock, 12 miles eastbound 370.
Negative contact, we're looking, United 93.
United 93, Cleveland, if you hear the center right then.
Загадка 32, и применить сюда, you have a ball boat.
Tuesday, 9:47 a.m.
Hi, baby. Baby, you have to listen to me carefully. I'm on a plane that's been hijacked. I'm on the plane. I'm calling from the plane. I want to tell you I love you. Please tell my children that I love them very much. And I'm so sorry, babe. I hope to be able to see your face again, baby. I love you. Bye.
We're 56865. We have, I believe it is a Boeing 757. Can you see him up there, sir?
That's confirmed. It looks like he's rocking his wings.
Roger.
He's rocking back and forth.
We're 56865. I advise you stay away from that aircraft. Go north as fast as you can.
United 93, have you got information on that yet?
Yeah, he's down.
He's down?
Yes.
When did he land?
He did not land.
Oh, he's down?
Yes,
Down?
somewhere up northeast of Camp David.
Sean, it's me. I just want to let you know I love you, and I'm stuck in this building in New York. There's lots of smoke, and I just wanted you to know that I love you always.
At number 2 World Trade Center, right. Lady was stewardess in the office. We're not ready to die, but it's getting bad.
I'm on the 83rd floor. I'm gonna die, aren't I? No. Say I'm gonna die.
Liv, say your prayers.
God.
We're going to think positive because you got to help each other get off the floor.
I'm
Now,
gonna die.
A new type of war. That's what it is.
Never saw the plane come crashing into your side. To the fire and the flames and the smoke surrounding you. I love to hide, for you to just jump out. I love to hide, to die. Oh, and you never knew the damage that was below. The empty room, the dead load, doors open and windows unshut. They ran rampant with a death touch. Oh, and you they say you can never win it, but you see an art behind the clouds. Set your eyes upon its ending. Don't look back and please don't look down.
And welcome to Garage Politics, everybody. I'm Buzz Rankin, and
I am the Common Patriot.
And guys, it's a little special one this week because today is 9/11. We're recording a day early. That song that you just heard is called A Love Too High, and that's by one of the original founders here of Garage Politics, our good old buddy and brother, Don Russo. Guitar Don, as you all knew him. And it was in remembrance of the September 11th attack. So it hits home a little bit, and that's why we're doing the show a little bit early, folks. And not going to apologize for the intro being as long as it was, because you see more and more that the images, it took quite some time to gather all those images. The images are being removed a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And if you look up in the upper right corner right now, you see where it says never forget. And folks, that hits hard with Patriot and I and our families, because I never will. And it angers me, and it frustrates me, and it hurts a little bit to think that we as a society, I think it's clear to see that it's being forgotten. And it's and I'm not saying by everybody, so please don't take that in the wrong way and get offended that, oh my gosh, you're saying everybody. No. But you look at what's going on. We're reverting right back to the old ways that led up right before this transpired. So with that, we want to remind you guys real quick, before we do get cranking here on the show, you can visit us over on our website. And, oh, look at that. Patriots froze up just like he was on the website there. So,
okay, a moment of levity.
Go on over to garagepolitics.com, or you could do .net. Either or. I don't know why we don't have to just throw it out there, but it is what it is, because for years we were .net, now we're .com. But you can check us out there. All the links to our social media sites, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Rumble. Go on over there, check us on out. Please, if you go on YouTube and Rumble, our ultimate goal is to get back live.
Subscribe.
Subscribe, just like Patriot just said. So that's going to be key. We're just going to do a little bit different this week because it is 9/11. We are in remembrance of that. We don't have a lot of segments or anything this week. Nope. We're not doing anything super flashy.
Just going to talk.
We're just going to do some talking, and it's a good chance and just to reflect and to go back. And I think Patriot's got, well, like he always does, he's got a lot of good points and stuff. So I'm going to pitch it on over to Broski and let him get boogieing along here.
So, like Buzz said, that was a big theme on and immediately after 9/11. Never forget. Never forget. We're never going to forget how we felt at that moment. I mean, you and I were talking yesterday, leading up to this. It was sort of one of the reasons we decided to do this the way we're doing it.
Right.
That my wife and I had moved to New York. We were living in Rochester at the time. And I had gone up there for a consulting job. It ended earlier than expected, so I was in between jobs for a few weeks. And it just so happened that on the morning of 9/11, I was at home. I was sleeping in that morning. And my wife comes into the room frantically informing me that we are under attack. My mind basically exploded. I thought,
right.
Dear God, what's going on?
Right.
And then went down to watch the rest of this transpire. So I understand people, because this was an event in our lifetimes, I understand people who say they'll never forget where they were when John F. Kennedy was shot, or when Martin Luther King was shot, or Bobby Kennedy, or where they, it's those traumatic moments in our nation, in our world, in our lives that cement things in your mind. And so I wanted to do something just a little different, though. I want to... let's call it, we're going to do sort of an overlay. I want to be clear, this week is absolutely not about politics. No. Now, there are going to be people who hear what I have to say and say, oh, that's all political. No, it's not about politics. I don't care what your political views are right now, because I'm going to do what we do a lot, however, is sort of take a view more from the founding generation, more from their view of America and what they had hoped for it to be.
Sure.
Right.
And going back to this day when it transpired, I recall watching, and I mean, it was unity. that happened after this, because it didn't matter. And if everybody would take just a second to reflect on this, when 9/11 happened 21 years ago, as we all stood there in shock and disbelief, we watched the news. And even the next day after the initial day, once again, just disbelief. Everything was pushed aside. There were no Democrats or Republicans or conservatives or liberals. There was a unified, heartbroken, angry, united America. That we had been attacked.
Yes.
That we were mourning our loved ones together.
Yep.
That we were there for one another. That we were giving hugs and saying prayers and coming together as one nation.
Yeah.
And it's something that the sad thing was, it took something so literally just terrifyingly horrible to bring that unity. And it seems in history that it always has got to come to a unity when there's something tragic happen.
Yes.
And my whole thing behind today, and my thought process on 9/11 as we sit here and we do this show today is why does it always take tragedy to bring us together, folks? Why can't we start waking up, realizing that we're Americans first and foremost, before you're a stupid political party or anything else, that you're an American, and that we want America to be what it's always been, which was the beacon of hope, the lighthouse that everybody sought, all these other countries, and they still do.
Yes.
But guys, we're overshadowing what America is each and every day that we allow our government to behave in the way that they do. No longer for and by the people.
When we behave
that we as Americans, we're pushing out all the things that made this country great, that it was founded on. We're pushing aside all of principles and morality, and we're headed right back in the direction we were before this all happened. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you on that.
You're
I just
good.
wanted to express where my thought was tonight on this.
So I started out with that thought. We said we will never forget, right?
Right.
So on that 21 years ago, on the morning of 9/11, we were attacked by people who saw us as their enemy. Okay? Make no mistake about it. I don't care how much people want to wash over it, try to decorate it to make it look different. The truth is that we were attacked by religious zealots, okay? Right. That were led by a hate-mongering fanatic who couldn't stand us. They wanted to find a way to harm us. I mean, ultimately, they would like to destroy us, because America, as she is seen so much around the world, regardless of what the news and other people tell you, America, as it's seen around the world, at that moment in history, before and after, has always been a threat to their hegemony, to what they want. They want a world controlled by their political and religious views, okay? And I've listened to it from the time that this attack happened, and the mere fact that we try to soft shoe it, we try to sugarcoat it and make it sound like, oh no, we don't mean all Muslims. No, I've never said all Muslims. I said the people who attacked us were religious zealots and fanatics. Exactly. That's truth. That's just the truth.
It is.
So whatever you want to call it, that's what it is. There it is. And that's lesson number one, right? You said, we forget. Why does it always take something tragic? Why does it always take these terrible? Lesson number one is because we forget. Yes. Because we get comfortable in our life, we get happy in our situation, and we think, it's a macro of the individual ideal that we want to believe everyone is a good person. And it's simply not true.
Absolutely not.
The truth is, and that's not, I'm not trying to indict people and make,
well, no.
The truth is people are selfish, mean, self-interested, self-centered, and some of them are outright evil.
Well, and I think to expand upon that a little bit, if you think about it, it's It's in everyone's nature to have those traits.
Yes.
It's a valid choice that you can make to suppress those and ignore those and not act upon them. Just like anything else, we have this beautiful thing called free will. Our Creator himself gave it to us because he didn't want a bunch of clones and drones running around going, blah, blah, yes. You can choose to be selfish or you can choose not to be selfish.
Yes.
You can choose to remember things or you can choose to forget things. You can choose to do something wrong or to do something right. It's a valid choice, folks. And and the only reason I'm saying that is because it's lost in society. Everybody wants to pass the buck. Nobody wants to take blame for their own actions anymore. Oh, it's the government that did it. Oh, it's the school system that did it. Oh, it's the police officers. Oh, it's my parents are to blame. Oh, my siblings are to blame. No, you're to blame. You're to blame. You're the one that ultimately can decide what you want to do, what you want to become. Actually, you can wake up every day and decipher how your day's going to be. You can wake up in a crappy mood and go, well, it's going to be a crappy day. Or you can wake up, feel a little bit icky and go, you know what, I'm going to make a good day out of today, and you can make a good day.
Yep.
But it's a valid choice, guys. It's a valid choice. So everything that you just said, Patriot, those are all decisions that can be controlled.
Well, and this is lesson number 2, right? Lesson number 2 is this. And if you...
I like lessons.
You know how I am about books and information. So
if you want books?
If you want to read the really expansive view of this idea, read the book The Vision of the Anointed by Thomas Sowell.
I started. The funny thing is, you know how I am.
Okay.
I think anybody that's ever listened to the show knows I'm not the biggest reader, but Patriot does encourage me once in a while, and I go, all right, I'm going to read it a little bit. So I have read that, and it was a lot of really neat info, and it was a good book.
One of the sort of core concepts there, and I'm obviously just sort of paraphrasing it, looking at the way that I was sort of looking and how we were brought up to look at this stuff.
Yes,
you really have 2 sort of views of the world, right? And you can separate most of your political views and your government systems and all this into these 2 views. There's the view of the elites, right? And that's not indicative of whether it's left, right, Democrat. The elites, the people who believe that they are smarter than everybody else, they need to control everything. Their view of the world is, with the proper amount of training and indoctrination, we can get mankind to behave the way we want them to behave, right? It's the idea of utopia. It's the concept that, if we take away your gas vehicles, this is just one little indication. If we take away your gas vehicles and put you in electric vehicles, or if we take away your personal vehicles and put you in mass transit, if we get you to live here instead of living there, if we make you understand you can't say certain words, they believe with the right amount of indoctrination that the world can be a utopia and everybody will be happy.
Right.
That's view number 1. View number 2 is what I've always called, and this is not the proper term for it, but what I've always called the fatalist view. And that view doesn't mean, oh, that's it, everything sucks and you're just going to die and so don't even bother. No. Sure. What it means is understanding from the beginning that the world is broken, that human beings are broken, that try as you may, even when you really want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, the truth is you have to be prepared for and understand that there are bad people in the world. There are people who will not fight against their lesser angels. Okay? They will absolutely take advantage of greed and theft and control and anything else. Okay? They will do whatever it takes to get what they want or to feel good or to make themselves better, whatever it is, right? And when you learn to understand that, then you understand that things like the concept of, I'm going to say this because I actually practiced to make sure I got it. So, si vis pacem para bellum, right?
Okay.
Now, I've heard that pronounced differently.
You even said that with an accent.
But if you want peace, prepare for war.
Right.
Reagan's adaptation of that maxim was peace through strength. Now, it's always interpreted, oh, you warmonger. No, it's not being warmongering. That's not the point. The point is you have to understand whether it's in your community, in your state, in your country, or the world stage, there are bad actors. There are Castros and Maos and Stalins and Hitlers and Mussolinis, okay? Always, there will always be, there have always been those people.
Yes.
Now, you can make a choice to look at the world through worldview number one. Well, if we indoctrinate and talk enough, and if we sit down and discuss with them and show them that we really love them, they'll be nice.
And if we hug enough, they'll be loved throughout the whole universe.
And what we're finding out right now, based on this second lesson, this idea of these two worldviews, is what's going on with our relations with China and other nations, okay? If you show weakness, the world will take advantage of you.
Sure it will.
It will absolutely take advantage.
Absolutely.
And whether that's at school and the bully decides that you're an easy target because you're a nice person, or sees you as weak or less than or whatever, that's not society's fault that person has decided they're going to take advantage of people who are weaker than them. That's that person's fault.
Right.
That's their fault.
Yeah.
So now this sounds like I'm having a political discussion, but I'm not. What I'm saying is in line with what you stated earlier, your question about why does it always take a terrible... Because until we actually see the fruits of that, until that dedicated group of people proves to us through their horrible actions that someone who's willing to die for what they believe in can strike at the heart of the strongest nation on the planet, until that terror comes home, until nearly 3,000 people die in a matter of a few moments, that's what it takes sometimes. And I'm not endorsing him. I'm not saying it's great. You're exactly right. This is still burns in my mind every day, thinking about how this transformed our nation, what it did to us, good and bad. And we forget that all the time. And it's the people in society who understand that broken view of the world, who are always saying, guys, no, let's come together. Let's work together. Let's all understand, okay, there's bad people in the world. Now let's all work together to protect ourselves from that. And then we can talk internally about all the things we want to discuss.
Exactly. They're called politicians, by the way.
But let's not sit here and make ourselves a target for the rest of the world.
And you're right on that. And I mean, it ties in, once again, what you just said. There's always bad people in the world. The people that did these terrorist attacks, they were bad people.
Yes.
Stemmed from bad people. And once again, not saying all Muslim people are bad, but they were of an Islamic radical movement that hated Western culture, which is the USA. They wanted us eradicated.
Yes.
And they wanted to strike fear in our hearts.
And I have listened to Islamic scholars and people who have come out of that community over the years who have said in no uncertain terms, folks, don't let someone tell you, oh, it was just a radicalized sect. Mm-hmm. It's what many of the imams in the mosques teach.
It is.
Now, that doesn't mean that every Muslim on the planet feels this way any more than it means that every Christian, every Catholic priest is not a child molester, contrary to some of the jokes that go. It's just not true. You've got bad actors in everything.
You've got different levels in all of it. I mean, and you know my stance. I've always said, yes, I'm a Christian, but religion is a man-made thing first and foremost. Christianity. Yes. But the whole thing is, there's good and bad seeds in every single religion there is.
Yes.
Christianity, we get people all the time that give us a bad name because they're over the top, ridiculous. What's that nutsoid
the
church?
Westboro Baptist Church.
My gosh, those people are Fruit Loops.
But see rule number 2, right? The world is broken. The world is broken. People are broken.
Fracture.
And so I don't care where you put them. Put them in any costume you want to put them in. Well, these are Christians. These are atheists. These are Muslims. These people. It's broken. There are bad people every place.
Period.
Okay?
Period.
So as long as you understand that first, that second rule there, it gets a lot easier to deal with some of those things.
Okay.
Now, back to our point. Never forget. Guess what? You said it in the opening. We forgot. We forgot in a million different ways already.
You see it daily.
But we forgot, and before we go forward with some of the other ideas, I want to make a couple of points, right? Because I've listened to this over the years since 9/11. I've listened to people say, well, it it was our fault. We were invading their homeland. We attacked their people. We killed their people. We made them evil. We made them bad. They were angry because we did. No, I'm sorry. Look, I feel bad
Tying
that that's
into
what
the excuses again.
I feel bad that's what you believe. Okay, the truth is, those groups of people wanted us to hurt. They wanted to show us that they could control our destiny through their actions. They wanted to show us they were powerful. And so that's why they undertook those actions. So our founders, now here's another thing I've heard over the years, that, we're too interventionist. We're too, we need to step out of all of this. And Ron Paul and a lot of others have said various things about this. And what they amount to is isolationism. And what they do in a sort of an absolute sense is tell you that anybody else who wants to be involved in anything is an interventionist. So you're either an interventionist or an isolationist. There's no middle road. Okay. I'm going to make a point. The founders, look, we had envoys to other nations before the country was even founded, before it was even fully operational. Okay. And Washington, Jefferson, all of them, they understood the idea that, there were places for alliances. Now, they weren't overly fond of the idea of permanent alliances, okay? They also weren't of a mind that just because someone was your friend today, they were always going to be your friend. They understood the fluid nature of nations and people and their behavior, okay? Now, Jefferson, for those who want to say, well, the founders were in favor of an isolationist view, we weren't supposed to be, then why did Jefferson get involved going after the Barbary pirates who were capturing our sailors and the sailors of other nations, by the way? It wasn't just us. We were paying ransom to them and everything like that. There are times and places that require us to be involved. Now, here's something else, right, that I sort of put up. As a nation, we're conducting commerce on the world's oceans, in the nations of all of these other countries that we do business with, and we want to have good actors out of other nations. We want third world countries to improve and get better and move forward and grow into a productive member of the, okay? So we've got to be prepared, I believe, and a lot of others do as well, and I'm going to clarify this as I do it. We got to be prepared to deal with actual injustice, not perceived injustice, not things where we're like, well, we really don't like that. No, I really don't like that is not an excuse for intervening in another nation's affairs.
You hurt my feelings.
Yeah. So, and we've got to be willing to stand in the gap to stand up for what's right. Whatever that is, we've got to be willing to stand there and do that. How do we work as partners with all these other nations, with all of these other peoples of the world, right? Who, by and large, despite even the current bad press and the things that go on, perceive the United States still to a large degree as that shining city on the hill. Now, we're very quickly putting the light out and burning the place to the ground.
Yeah,
but
internally.
But the world still sees this as an opportunity.
It does.
Regardless of any internal opinions about illegal immigrants and all the other stuff going on, the vast majority of those people come here because they see this as an opportunity.
Yes.
Okay.
To get away from oppression and terrorism and all kinds of other forms of horrid garbage that goes on everywhere.
You and I grew up in South Florida.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you and I were still pretty young when the Mariel boat lift happened.
Right.
However, we watched year after year as people risked their lives on those terribly made little rafts to get, just for the opportunity to get to America.
And there's the key thing, the opportunity.
Okay? So here's another thing, and this goes along with your question about why. Why do I always have to have these things happen? Okay? When I say stand in the gap for what is right, America, I believe, part of our mission, part of our God-given mission on this planet, okay, part of why we have had the blessings and the providence that we have had throughout our history is because we have to be ready to stand when there are tyrants on this planet willing to take lives, destroy lives, and try to rule the world by force. I believe it's America's God-given mission to stand up to those people, whether it's Hitler, Mussolini, or Mao. And the problem is we've lost that understanding. We've lost that understanding that, somebody shoot me for quoting a Marvel thing, but right? With great power comes great responsibility, right?
Yes.
Wasn't that the quote from Spider-Man?
Yes.
Okay.
It was.
Well, it's true in
But
its own
true.
way,
It's
right?
a good quote. It really is.
I saw something the other day I saw a quote the other day by Socrates. If you don't want to have power, you are therefore uniquely fit to have it.
Yes.
Right?
Those that don't seek it are the
Right?
yeah.
So we have forgotten that we do have a responsibility. Now, I'm not in favor of us running hither and thither all over the world and trying to fix everybody's problems.
Well, no,
that's
of
not our
course
job.
not.
And I think that there was a certain amount of misguided nature when it came to the idea that you were going to bring, quote unquote, democracy to the Middle East. Now, I think there are an awful lot of people in Afghanistan that would say, hey, wait a second, we were living pretty good lives here until you guys decided to leave and let the Taliban back in.
Yep.
Now, but there's a question there about how long, how much, at what point are you responsible for your own freedom? And there has to come a time where it's your nation, guys.
Yep.
You got to stand up and take care of things.
Just like our founding fathers, the original patriots of this country stood in the gap.
Yes.
Stood up and did what was right to make sure that they secured our republic. So
That's right.
You got to do that within your own countries. The beauty is they want us to help them. That's fine. That's the awesomeness of America, that we can help, but we can't do it all for you. Like you just said, you have to stand up at some point and take control and lead your own.
And one of the key points is we cannot solve everyone else's problems to the detriment of our own country. No. Okay. Now, I'm not saying we don't make sacrifices.
Which seems to happen an awful lot.
Well, I'm not saying we don't make sacrifices. Okay. The world is rife with, cemeteries and that full of dead Americans who sacrificed for freedom and for doing the right thing. Okay. That's not what I'm saying. And also, I'm not going to get into long-winded discussions and as I like to put it, bandy words with folks who want to tell me that war is never right? That we've confiscated their resources and we've stolen their land and murdered their people. And you know what? Go ahead, feel that way. If that's what you want to believe it. Okay, but I just think that it's important for us to remember we've got a role in the world. We've got a responsibility. We've got we live in a country full of blessings. Okay. And I think there are millions of Americans and other people around the world who see that the same way that I see it. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm the only person on the planet who believes that. But anyway, I wanted to get those points out. So today, I said earlier, this isn't about politics. If you think that what I'm talking about right now is politics, you don't listen to a lot of political shows. It still staggers me to think 2,977 people, just in a matter of moments, basically, right? Over the course of a morning, 2,977 people perished. 2,753 in the World Trade Center and the surrounding area, okay? 184 at the Pentagon, 40 in Pennsylvania, and that included the 265 crew and passengers on the planes. You see higher numbers. I do not include the hijackers. They were murderers, and I'm not going to include them in the total. And I don't apologize to that for anybody. So, and we sort of forgot, folks, that what this day was about. Now, I know it's not perpetual mourning, but we have a tendency to forget, as we do with Memorial Day and certain other aspects of our history, Pearl Harbor Day, we forget that these moments were founded in national mourning. That's M-O-U-R for some of you people who don't necessarily get the word. Sorry.
We get a lot of that. You see a lot of that in today's times.
So we forgot about that. And don't tell me we didn't forget. Oh, no, we didn't forget. No, we didn't. No, we forgot. We absolutely forgot, okay? We have no sense of pride in ourselves, okay? No unity for the evil that was perpetrated against us. We don't come together anymore for that. We have forgotten the purpose of this day. And folks, it's not to remember how awesome America is. Actually, I think it's just the opposite. I think it's a time to remember that this happened for a reason. We forgot the feeling of oneness that we shared that day, what you commented about, Buzz, that idea that for that brief period of time, and really if you think about it, if you think back to it, right, 9/12, the next day, man, You want to talk about a unified America. For a very brief period of time, we were unified until the questions and the assertions that, well, it might have kind of been our fault and all the other stuff kind of got started. But for a short period of time, and you saw it in the video that was there on the intro, right? People of all colors, all sexes, all nationalities, didn't matter. You know, if you look, they're all covered in dust. In some cases, it's hard to tell who's what. And nobody cared. Nobody cared. They were New Yorkers. They were Americans. They were hurting. They were injured. They were grieving. And we all just came together and we all collectively put out a big family hug and said, let's get through this with each other. Let's deal with this. We know you're hurting. You've lost your family members. You've lost, we stood up with tears in our eyes and pride in our heart when we saw the firefighters and the police officers and the people just risking their lives. No questions. No questions.
Just doing.
And those are the moments. See, these are the things that become part of your national pride. It's become something where people think that that's evil to have pride in one's nation, pride in one's culture, heritage, our history. And we forget that it's the people who've gone through that, who've witnessed those acts of heroism and sacrifice and dedication, those are the people that remember those things.
Yes.
They remember them because they understand how tragic and awful they are. They understand the just heartbreaking, heart-wrenching horror at the idea that these people who just got up and went to work had no idea that that would be their last day on earth.
No.
And gone. And their families were left wondering what's happened. Why?
And to even consider for a moment that we should overlook these things, the horrible things. That's the problem. Trying to cancel history, erase history, forget history, ignore history is the worst thing we could do. Even the tragic parts of the bad things of our history.
Yes.
It's one of the life lessons, and this is a life lesson they always try to erase nowadays with everything going on as well too. You learn from the bad. You develop and evolve and become better so that you don't repeat those mistakes.
Lesson number 3.
Boy, it's amazing how I keep tying into your
Great
lessons.
segue. Look at that. Right? Lesson number 3. The things you learn the hard way, you just don't forget.
No, they stick with you the most.
Now, that's a simplified version of it. But the truth is, like I just said, it's those moments. We forgot our purpose, folks. We forgot our purpose. Not as hunters, not as haters, not as avengers.
No.
As Americans.
As Americans.
We forgot that despite all of the best efforts today of the media and others to try and make it sound like that's somehow wrong, shameful, that we should see our heritage and our history, that we should look upon our heroes and that we should feel guilty for that. That we're not, and how many times have we heard this over the years? We're not better than everybody else. I didn't say we were better than everybody else necessarily, but we're better than everybody else. What I said was, we as a nation have a history of rising above the tragedy, rising above the hard time, meeting the challenge, standing in the face of it. And you are 100% correct, right? When we went through all that stuff in 2020, all the riots and the take down the statues and this and that, folks, it's that hard lesson that makes you remember. It's that lesson that you stand each generation in front of it and you say, look at that. No, don't turn away. Look at it.
Yes.
It was terrible.
It was.
It was wrong. You take the children of every generation and you stand them in front of slavery, and you stand them in front of Jim Crow, and you stand them in front of World War II, and you say, look at the horror of this moment. This was wrong.
Yep.
Okay? Some of those things we were on the wrong side of at the time.
Absolutely.
Some of those things we're on the right side of. Guess what? The world was on the wrong side of slavery. Always.
Yes.
Okay? From the beginning of time, practically. But you don't erase it and act like it never happened.
No.
You make everybody stand there and look at it and you say, and guess what? Here's what we did to rectify it.
To learn from it.
And we're never going to permit it again.
You betcha.
Okay?
But now by erasing anything,
yes,
is the dumbest thing you could do, because then once it's gone, any remembrance of it, any teaching of it, any history, there's nothing to teach. And now you open it up for a repeat cycle. You open it up because there's nothing reminding people how tragic, how horrific, how wrong it was, so that we continually learn from it and continually seek to do the right, to never go back to that again.
You know, as a young kid, I was pretty compliant. And so I took things... Yeah. I just took things...
I wasn't.
The way they were handed to me when I was a kid. And so when people said... You know, when I heard the quote, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it, it was like, no, those who do not learn from history are doomed. Okay, got it. And you remember the little thing and you move along, right? And then as you grow to adulthood, you start to see the examples and it makes you understand, right? It makes you understand. So lesson number 3 was about learning things the hard way. Lesson number 4 is the idea that if you don't learn from those things, it's going to happen again, folks. If you don't learn from the bad thing, and here's something that we learned from 9/11 that I bet most people didn't actually pay any attention to. Can you name one thing for me that we learned a lesson about that came out of the 9/11 attacks? Give me one example of something that came out of the 9/11 attack.
Something that came out of it?
I didn't say good, bad, or indifferent. Just something. Okay. Name something that changed in our world because of 9/11.
Oh, just over at the airports and everything, the security levels went up.
TSA.
Right? TSA evolved beyond anything it ever was.
Okay.
New security measures at the cabins and stuff about flights, them not opening up regardless of what's going on. So a lot of stuff, and I mean, good ways for protection, but it also impacted everyone.
Yes. How about the Department of Homeland Security?
You bet.
That evolved because of 9/11. How about all the security at the ports and travel restrictions and new rules and all of this stuff, right?
Yep.
Now, we can't act. It's hard to say right now, was it good, bad, and different from the standpoint of did it actually stop terrorism?
No, because we were stopping 80-year-old white women.
But what I'm saying is,
say, hey, you might have a bomb.
From my view and my travel, I look at it and I think, man, what a waste of time. You're profiling the wrong people. Oh, he said
profiling, exactly.
Shh,
and
you're
that's
profiling
my whole point.
The wrong people. And the thing is, Grandma is not the bomber.
No.
Okay. Anyway, I'm not going to linger on that.
No, that's a whole nother show.
But let's talk about something that we learned or should have learned.
Should have learned, okay.
Let's put it that way. We should have learned from 9/11 that maybe we didn't, okay?
Okay. Lay it on me.
I got a handful of things here.
All right.
So we learned we could be unified as Americans, right?
Boom.
We could be unified as Americans.
That deserves a big old... Yeah.
Now that's important. That's important because you've heard me say over the last couple of weeks, sometime in the last 2 or 3 weeks, right? I made the comment about George Washington had said, avoid parties. Stay away from parties, right? He wanted us to be Americans. He wanted us to be focused on what's good for America. Now, you've got your politics in your state, right, that you can be concerned there. You have your own state constitution. You have things that go on there. You have powers delegated to the states that are not to the federal government. But on a whole, have you ever heard the adage that politics ends at the water's edge? Have you ever heard that? Okay. That was really the way that we as Americans, even our politicians, sort of viewed things going back well before you and I, well before our lifetime, actually. Even after we were born.
Sure.
But there was this view. It's like you and I said recently on a personal level. We can gripe and complain and argue and fight and get grumpy with each other and everything. don't anybody else step in.
Nope. It's a brother thing.
That's between us.
Quick way to get hurt.
That has nothing to do with anybody else. You're not, I will actually, next week when we do our show and the boys are here, I will relate a story about my two best friends, the identical twin brothers. We will relate a story and get their feedback on it that actually reinforces that.
Well, and I've
piece.
heard this one before, but yeah, that'll be next week's show.
So we learned that we could be unified as Americans, right? We learned we could honor our fellow Americans regardless of their political views. We didn't have to know what their politics were before we decided that we were going to honor them.
Yes.
Okay? We learned that it is not words, it is actions that harm us. We learned that actions hurt us. Yeah. People with box cutters who are willing to lay down their lives and fly planes into buildings because of their beliefs hurt us. Not words.
Not words.
Not words.
Hey, listen to that current generation. Not words. You know, when we were growing up, we used to say it all the time.
Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Bingo.
Yes.
But in today's times, it's sticks and stones may break my bones, but you will crush my ever-living soul with a word.
It's true.
And that's the way they act. It's like, get over it, folks.
I said it earlier, but I'm going to repeat it again. Just it was part of my notes. We learned that a determined foe willing to sacrifice their own life can strike at the heart of the greatest nation on the planet
at any given time.
So I think there was a comment made recently by some political figure who said, I think if you're going to oppose the government and tyranny, you're going to need a little bit more than a rifle, like maybe an F-15. I'm pretty certain that on that day, those maniacs flew a plane into the Pentagon.
Yep. And
now I'm saying that because I think it bears underscoring that point, the idea that not only that, I seem to recall Afghanistan being referred to as the place where empires went to die. Okay? Right. The Russians got their butt handed to them. All right? Yeah. We spent a great deal of time losing and then winning and then just sort of walked away from it. Okay? Yeah. So a lot of empires have broken on those rocks in Afghanistan. So don't tell me that the American people united and with a purpose are powerless because what? You've got planes and nuclear weapons? You're going to nuke the whole country?
Yeah.
I hate even having that discussion, but I cannot stand to hear a politician engage in that type of rhetoric. It's just it's asinine.
Well, you know, it almost ties. Think about when we were kids. Our father used to always tell us, "Locks are to keep honest men honest."
Yeah, exactly.
Because a determined thief,
that's right,
will find a way to get what he wants. It doesn't matter the defenses we have, no matter how much we've beefed up the Department of Homeland Security and everything else. You pointed out, they hit the Pentagon.
Yeah,
that's supposed to be
with a plane.
With a plane, not an actual fighting jet or a regular standard airplane.
Yeah.
At any given time, they could strike at the heart of the U.S. Determined enough. Mm-hmm. Bound enough to with their beliefs and what they want and to do harm.
Yes.
You already see it a lot of the time where everybody's so focused on, gun violence. Guns don't kill people, folks. People kill people and they're evil people. Those people killing with guns nowadays are just the same type of evil as the people that are plotting to take out Western culture with machetes by beheading them, stabbing them, poisoning them, whatever else it takes. Guys, wake up. Unify, come together. Don't forget. Let's go back and look at what we're remembering so that we don't let that kind of garbage happen again.
We've got people who think now because we've tightened up the TSA and we've got the Department of Homeland Security and there's, they've got all kinds of things now. Plane would never get near the White House or the Pentagon or the Capitol. No. Folks, our entire power grid is so vulnerable to attack. Our water system, all kinds of... And I'm not saying anything that isn't discussed on other shows, that hasn't been talked about it. The simple truth is the powers that be are doing nothing about it.
No.
Nothing. We have an antiquated power grid that is in dire need of upgrading. We are terribly susceptible to all sorts of attacks and potential problems.
But instead, we're shutting down energy sources and everything else and trying to get you all to buy a bunch of electric cars.
And telling people not to misuse pronouns. Okay? We're more concerned about pronouns than we are about protecting the nation.
Bottom line, even beyond that, We're more worried about feelings.
Yes.
Oh, you profiled a person. Get over it. When you've got terrorists that come from a certain origin, you should profile based on that origin. I hate to do it, but plain and simple. Look for where the problem lies.
If 51% of the people who were prone to terrorism, okay, were blonde surfers originating in Los Angeles, California,
then they should
profile them.
Blonde surfers from California or
Okay.
anywhere else. Blonde surfers. Look at them.
If 51% of the people committing crime were blue blood Republicans from Connecticut, profile them.
Yes. It's how you stop a problem and how you learn and evolve.
And the truth is that honest Americans who are interested in being safe and secure, right,
will stand behind it.
We'll look at it and go, yeah.
Thanks for looking out for us and
Good
taking
job.
care of those idiots.
Now, I don't want to turn into Germany. Pay up us, please. We're not going to have any of that nonsense.
No.
But anyway, the other thing we learned is that some people, we've kind of talked about it leading up to, some people value hatred more than they value life.
Yep.
Now, that's true not only of the terrorists.
No.
Okay? It was true of the Klansmen. It was true of people in history who are haters. They don't care that they have to die to get to their goal.
There's groups and cells of them within America, and they're of all races. They're
Yes.
of all religions, of all backgrounds. Hatred, it's the unfortunate side, but hatred exists.
What was rule number one? The world is broken. Right? The world's broken. It's full of people who hate. Right? Here's the next thing. We understood on that day, if only just for a very short period of time, a matter of a few days, maybe a couple of months or whatever, we understood that freedom isn't free. And peace comes at a price. It comes at a price. Peace doesn't happen because you really, really, really want peace.
And hugged 3 people today.
Peace doesn't come because you really think it's
No.
awesome and you think it should be peaceful. Peace comes at a price. It comes because, in opposition to those people who value hatred more than their lives,
they stood up.
It comes because we have heroes that are willing to stand in the gap and say, I will die for you.
And we've had it. And you know what? We had it. We have it in wars that we fought in the past. We've had those that didn't return home to us. We have those that gave everything for everyone. And the sad thing is, today on 9/11, it hurts even more to see it in our culture that they just don't give a damn. And they're trying to tear it down because of some kind of political or social stance.
Well, because
they've forgotten.
Because we let these people turn it into politics. The truth is, every one of those firefighters, every one of those police officers, every civilian who helped, those were heroes. And they said,
every American.
Look, you've heard it. People have talked about it. They've made allusion to the idea that the firefighters, the police officers, the only ones, everybody else is running from the building to escape. The firefighters are literally running into hell and up those stairs.
Yep.
Some of them knowing, all of them actually knowing, it could collapse. I could be dead.
Yep.
But they were willing to sacrifice everything to make sure that even one additional person, you hear a politician say, if it saves one life. What about if it saves millions of lives? How about if it saves thousands of lives, right?
Yep.
And so we learned that peace comes at a price, okay? Peace comes because you're willing to live through the fight, live through hell, work through the war, die if necessary, and make the sacrifice so that the people you love, the republic, the nation you love, and the things that you love will survive in a world with peace. That's the truth, okay?
Yep.
And you asked earlier, here again, you said, why? Why do we always have to have these terrible things happen, right? Well, every time that we forget that freedom comes at a price, Every time that we forget that liberty is not free, every time as a people or an individual that we forget, right? Si vis pacem parabellum, right? Every time we forget that strength comes or peace comes through strength, every time we forget that, something terrible happens. Every time we step back from our responsibility to learn from history, to share that with our fellow Americans, every time we stop remembering that what is important is the Republic, is each of us as Americans. And we forget, a lot of us forget, and they're forgetting right now, guys, you already have the life you want. Live your life the way you want. If, however, what you want is to force your life on somebody else, that's not the point. That's not freedom.
Right.
That's tyranny. Now, if you want to live your life the way you want to live it. Okay?
Sure.
Understand there will be laws, things you don't like that you have to follow, but we have a system to change that if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
And the truth is that we just have to remember, okay? We have to remember that we're all Americans, right? We have to remember that if we forget the past, it's going to come again. Right? If we turn away from the ugly segments of our past, if we turn away from the horrible things and say, oh, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. Don't show me. I don't want to hear about it. When we do that, then either us or our children or our children's children are going to suffer it again. Yep. Okay? If we erase the legacy and all of the learning that we had to go through as a nation, sacrificing hundreds of thousands of American lives to end slavery. If we turn away from that and act like it never happened, if we ignore it, it's going to happen again and again and again. If we forget to understand that what we needed on 9/11 was to come together as Americans, if we continue to live in this world where we think that we are entitled to tell other people what they can and cannot say, if we become a kind of people who are unable or unwilling to hear difficult things from other people and to reason it out and understand that it's okay if we have different opinions. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to believe in gay marriage and I don't. It's okay for you to believe in certain things that I don't believe in. It's okay for you to be an atheist and me to be a Christian. It's okay if you're black and I'm white. It's okay if you decide that you want to raise your children differently than I raise mine. It's all right.
Because all of that actually ties into one of the things that of modern view is it's our differences that make us unique first and foremost. Yeah. But actually binds us together, the beautiful melting pot of America. You had the Irish and the Italians and Scots and black and white and
Chinese and Koreans and
everybody wanted to come to this wonderful melting pot of America and have the opportunity for freedom. And guys, it's still the greatest nation in the world, but we gotta go back to remembering, not erasing, remembering. Never forget. Today is 9/11. Never forget. No. Bring back that feeling. Go back to when this happened and bring back that emotion that struck at the very core of who you are.
Yeah.
You are an American first and foremost, and let's get back to being Americans, folks.
And take some time, take a moment every day to remember that it's okay for the guy next to you to be different. It's okay for the woman across from you at work to have a different view.
And quit trying to sway them otherwise.
It's okay. It's all right. And remember that despite our differences, we're brothers and we are sisters. This is our home called America. We are all, despite the fact that we have differences, your brother's different than your sister and you're different than your uncle and everybody's... We're still Americans. We all live in the same house.
First and foremost.
Okay? And the fact that you've got your own room in California and I've got my own room in Florida and this one's got their own room over in North Dakota. Hey, it's okay, guys.
And I got news for everybody. Hey, baby, we all one race. We're the human race. Plain and simple. That's it.
This is...
Bottom line, guys, remember.
You know what, Buzz?
What's it?
I don't want anybody thinking... This is not Pollyannish. I'm not saying life is perfect. And I'm not saying that we get along every day. Look, you and I fight.
At least once a week.
This happens. But it's as long as you remember at your core, okay? And I'm gonna go a little off the reservation for a moment. As long as you remember at your core that you are a child of God, each and every
That's
one
not
of you.
going off the reservation,
You are
baby. That's bringing it
created.
back to the reservation.
I love the statement in the Bible where it says, you are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yeah.
You are an amazing creation of God.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're perfect in every way every day. We all have our little problems and faux pas and things, but man, God made you for a reason, and he put you in America for a reason, and we need to make the most of that, to make this the place that the world envies. Not in a bad way, not in a greedy way, but because we want everybody to look at us and go, look how they do it. We want to do that. That's awesome. Look what they're doing.
Amen
and
to that.
folks, is the final lesson of 9/11. We are and should be the shining city on a hill. The reason that people came after us, they wanted to put that light out so badly that they were willing to die. They were willing to give their lives for their ideology, and they wanted to make sure to show the rest of the world, hey, there's nothing special about them. And folks, I beg to differ. There is, and there should be, and hopefully it will continue to be for the remainder of my lifetime and beyond. So God bless you. Thank you for listening. If you've been here this whole time listening to me rant and rave. And before we go, I want to say, we're not going to do a different shout out this week, but to the families of 9/11, those who lost.
That are still going through it.
To the firefighters and the police officers and the first responders who gave their lives, to their families, to
Big shout out
the
to all.
firefighters, to those who worked at Ground Zero and other areas and are still suffering through illness and just everything that they've had to deal with. God bless each and every one of you. We love you, and our hearts and our prayers are with you.
Absolutely. And just one more reminder before we sign off here, folks. If you haven't checked us out before, head on over to garagepolitics.com. Check out all of our links, all our social media outlets, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble. Go on YouTube, go on Rumble, like, subscribe, leave a comment, whatever you want, guys. But we need those likes and we need those subscriptions so that we can eventually make this a live show. Once we hit live, guys, we're going to be going to where you can call in.
Yep.
We can have live conversations here, and at that point, we're even going to be taking it up to a little bit longer show than we currently do. So
Yes.
check us out at the website, guys. Keep in mind to this week's lesson, never forget, guys. Never forget. Let's get back to being Americans first and let everything else fall into place after that.
Amen.
So with that said, God bless you all. Thank you for listening. We love y'all, and until next week, we'll see you in the garage.